alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Modern and Modest here on ITV in Durban, just for you. So where are we? At the amazing AHA Avondale Boutique Hotel based in Durban, with myself being your host, Noshina Ghani. So as a woman, we like listening to stories about the challenges that other women tend to face, which will help to empower us and definitely be an inspiration to us. So joining me for breakfast here at the Avondale Boutique Hotel, we'd be chatting to Janice Benneker from the Pink Drive Cancer Organization, who would share her stories about being a survivor. I mean, she was diagnosed with 3 different types of cancers, and also a little bit about what the Pink Drive Cancer Organization is all about. And just before we leave today, we'd be chatting to another dynamic speaker, a very brave lady, our own Vanessa Govender. I would be chatting to her more as an author than a journalist herself, that's just come up with her recent story told in the book, Beaten But Not Broken. Breast cancer is one of the 5 top cancers spreading rapidly here in South Africa. Some women have a bit of a background, some women have background information on what breast cancer is all about, and others don't. So is it because women are shy to discuss these topics, or are we just apprehensive to take the necessary test to try and identify whether one of us could be having breast cancer? So today with us at this amazing AHA Avondale Boutique Hotel, we've got a phenomenal guest from the Pink Drive Cancer Association, Janice Benneker. Janice, welcome to Modern and Modest here in Durban, and it's been such an opportunity to have an individual like yourself to chat to us a little bit more about the Pink Drive organization, but not just being the face of Pink Drive, but also a cancer survivor.
Thank you for having me on your show.
All right, so Janice, could you perhaps just tell us a little bit more about Pink Drive organization? What is it all about?
Okay, Pink Drive is one of the most beloved cancer organizations in South Africa. We are the only organization that has a mammogram, mobile mammogram unit, and an educational vehicle that drives around, bringing home the fact that early detection can prolong a life. Pink Drive do free mammograms, free pap smears, free breast education, and we are branching out into different cancers as well.
Okay, so Pink Drive organization has a very unique concept behind it. So can you maybe tell us what was the idea behind it, and who's actually initiated the whole Pink Drive organization?
Our CEO and founder of Pink Drive is Nolene Kutchin, who started this with a wish to bring healthcare to the medically uninsured and to the women of South Africa. It was clear to Nolene that the ladies were being diagnosed at an advanced stage where there was very little that we could do. So accessibility to education and early detection is the key. And so that is what we decided to do, is to make education available to the public.
Okay, so obviously with that education, women can understand better when to take the necessary test, and maybe it comforts them in the way that you don't have to be so apprehensive to go forward and take the test that's required. You've just mentioned now that early detection would prolong a life. So how would you say early detection can prolong a life?
Well, I certainly believe that, because I'm a walking testament to that. Okay. I am a survivor myself. I've had 3 different types of cancer. I've had chemo and radiation and operations. My heart even stopped. So I recommend everyone to please go and have your breasts examined at least once a year by a medical practitioner, or go to a clinic and have it done on a monthly basis, or do it yourself. It's always best to do that.
Okay, so Janice, just touching a little bit about your experience. I mean, you've just mentioned that you've survived 3 cancers. When did you actually find out that you had cancer? Did you go for an early, did you go in for that early test like you've just chatted now?
Well, the first cancer that I had was in 1994-95. It was a germ cell cancer on my coccyx bone growing up my spine, which spread to my lungs. Okay. And that started off with back pain. And when the back pain started, I went straight to the doctors to have it seen to. And in those days, cancer was not as common as it is now. It was like, oh, she's going to die.
Okay.
So it was a bit scary then, and I've had 7 major operations and the chemo and radiation and blood transfusions and that to help me, and I was cleared. And 10 years later I found a lump in my breast, and I didn't have Pink Drive in those days because Pink Drive had just started, which I wish I did. So I went and had mine done, and I had to have the operation and that to fix it up. And at that time my husband was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is bone marrow cancer.
Sure.
And he died 7 months after that. So not one to sit in a corner and be depressed, I decided to devote my life to charity and educating people about what I knew about cancer, because I'd been through so much. So I started by handing out ribbons in a shopping mall, and today I'm running the Durban branch of Pink Drive, and it is a job I'm very passionate about. I love my work.
So the organization has obviously been growing quite rapidly. How long ago did you join the Pink Drive organization?
I started doing volunteer work for Pink Drive in 2011. It's about 8 months after my husband passed away. And I decided that I wanted to work full-time for that company. So I made myself invaluable. Whenever there was something to be done in Durban, I offered to do it, and that is how come I managed to secure a full-time position.
Okay, that's amazing. So could you tell us a little bit more about the Pink Drive organization? How has it evolved from the time you started out to date?
Well, we started out with humble beginnings. We do now have 3 mammogram trucks on the road, which cost between 10 and 12 million rand a year to run. We have 4 Avanzas for everyday use. We've got 2 mobile clinics, which I'm pleased to say Durban has one, which was sponsored by the Embassy of Japan and Lancet. And this vehicle is a Nissan, it looks like a taxi, but when you open it up, it's a little doctor's room where we can do pap smears and breast examinations, and so I'm very happy that Durban has got that. But my dream is to get a mammogram truck for Durban.
Okay, so 3 clinics and 3 mobile vehicles. So the service that you offer, is it offered to the general public? Is there a fee that you charge, or I mean, you're obviously an NGO, so how would you maintain these vehicles and your running cost? Surely those are challenges for your organization.
Those are big challenges, yes. So we rely on corporates and sponsorships to keep Pink Drive running, so that we can keep doing these free services that we offer. So if a corporate wants to have Pink Drive at their business, they will of course fill in the paperwork, and they will pay for us to be there, but we will then do their staff. We also do community work. The community work that we do, if it's going to have pap smears, then we're going to need a hospital or doctor to send the results to. But if it's just for us to do breast examinations and education, that I do with my nurse, and it's not so involved.
Okay. So the Pink Drive organization obviously started out as an outreach program for women, I would think, but you have added quite a bit now to the organization. So could you tell us what your new service offering is for the Pink Drive organization?
Well, we haven't forgotten the men, okay? So we have got our own men's clinic, which is called More Balls Than Most, where we do testicular and prostate cancer. We do the testing on the males, which is just a prick in the finger, so that's something nice for the men, and that is all in blue. And then we've branched out to cervical cancer and other cancers.
Okay, so Janice, just before we wrap up our show today, I just need to know, for the public, if women want to get involved, or just anyone for that matter that wants to give and support to the Pink Drive organization, how would we do that?
Okay, so that's simple. You can either go onto our website, which is www.pinkdrive.co.za. There's ways to give. You can contact me on my cell, which is 082 557 3079, or on my email address, which is Janice, JANICE, @pinkdrive.co.za. You can also SMS 40158 PINK to 40158. It costs 20 Rand. We welcome welcome anybody that would like to sponsor us. I'm just a phone call away if needed. If anybody wants to have a meeting with me to discuss how they would like to give, they are welcome to contact me.
Okay. Well, Janice, you've done an amazing job, and I can feel and hear the passion. I'd say feel because I'm sitting here and I can feel that energy, that positivity coming from you, the fact that you've survived 3 cancers. So for the public out there that can't actually get involved, where you can go out and maybe help Janice with those screenings or whatever it is that you'd like to do, I think the simplest way is just to SMS 40158, and you'd be raising 20 Rand just with one SMS that could actually help this organization grow from strength to strength. Well, thank you so much for that, Janice, and an amazing story to hear. I mean, a survivor with 3 cancers, that is definitely a story to tell. Okay, so that was our phenomenal speaker today, Janice Vanessas, the face of Pink Drive Cancer Organization here in Durban, and also a cancer survivor. And her motto, always believe that all things are indeed possible. So please stay tuned, and we'll be back in a few minutes and chatting to an inspirational guest here in Durban. I'm not going to reveal her just yet, so keep watching and we'll be back in a few minutes. Well, welcome back to our show. With us today we have a very dynamic and brave lady, and no introduction to her will do justice. Some may know her as SABC's newsreader and some from ETV Prime News. But today I will be introducing her as the author of Beaten But Not Broken, Durban's very own Vanessa Govender. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity of having you here on our show, and welcome to Modern and Modest on ITV.
Thank you, Noshina, and if I could just wish your viewers salams.
Oh, that would be lovely. Okay, so Vanessa, before we actually get into the details, can you just give us a little bit of a background? So who is Vanessa Govender? Who was Vanessa Govender before SABC?
I grew up from in quite an impoverished, I come from a very impoverished background. My parents were virtually uneducated. My father probably completed Standard 1. But he always had this dream for his daughters. And I've got 2 older sisters. And his motto in life was, we must study after high school. It is not an option, it is non-negotiable. We will study after high school. What we wanted to study, though, was an option. So that is my background, that is my foundation. It's parents who never had much, parents who were uneducated, and parents who wanted us emancipated from the life that they grew up in.
Okay, so as an Indian female wanting to study, you've obviously chosen to go into journalism. Was this challenging for you, and why did you choose to go with that pathway? Why not anything else?
Well, the thing is, I had a passion for writing, you know, and I loved reading. And I had this culture inculcated into me from a very young age by my mother and my sisters, who would tell me stories, read me books. So English was my biggest passion. In fact, it was probably the only thing I ever excelled at school. Okay. I was horrible at maths. I was terrible at science. I loved writing. So for me, it was kind of the automatic way to go, you know, the automatic journey to take. I could never for 1 second, you know, in high school or through journalism school, have foreseen, you know, how and the way in which my career would have taken off. You know, my father was passionate about news. He was uneducated, but he would read the newspaper from cover to cover. He would watch the news at that time at 8 o'clock on TV, and he would listen to the news on radio. I think it was kismet for me to be where I ended up doing news, and it was probably the ultimate celebration and the ultimate honor that I could pay for a man who worked his entire life and gave up his life to ensure that his daughters had more than he could ever give us.
Okay, So you've obviously been sharing for a while now on SABC and ETV Prime News very interesting stories, and we've just recently discovered that you've had your own little story to tell and wanted to reach out to other women, I would think, to inspire them or empower them to speak up. And as an Indian female, how did you actually start up? Did you choose to start writing about your story just as a means of an escape for you, or is it something you had actually intended on doing one day?
I have been a survivor of domestic abuse for 13 years now. That's how long I've walked away from this relationship. I walked away, I put it into a box, put it in the back of my head, and moved on with my life. But the thing about trauma and the thing about any traumatic experience, it never leaves you. It follows you through the years, wherever you may go, whatever degrees of success you may achieve, whether you find love, whether you're happy, the trauma stays with you. It's entrenched in your every pore.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So I never set out to write the story. The story was given to me. For 5 years and 7 months, every kick, every slap, every punch, the story was given to me. I'm a journalist by profession. There was no way I was going to keep quiet with what was possibly the biggest story of my life. It took me 13 years to sit down and write. I did it to heal. I wrote to heal. And in doing so, I found the infinite power in the words and the story that I carried. The power that many women, and when I say many, I'm talking about thousands, not just here in our community, not just in our country, but the world over. The power and the permission they have been waiting for. I have laid myself out bare with every graphic detail of my horrible experience in the hope that it inspires and imbues other women to tell us their stories. Because once the silence is broken, you will find the power that you have and you hold is immeasurable.
Okay, so Vanessa, with the horrid experiences that you've spoken about in your book, obviously by writing, I'm sure that gave you a sense of freedom, because it's a way of perhaps letting go. But were you ever afraid to leave, given the community that we come from, how we've been raised and brought up, and our morals and tradition? Were you ever afraid to leave?
To leave the relationship?
Yes.
Yes, I was very afraid to leave the relationship. There were very many things that held me back. Notwithstanding the fear that my abuser instilled in me, that if I ever left, I would, I shouldn't dream of starting a relationship with somebody else. There were all those fears. But here's the profound thing, and that I found after leaving. And it wasn't, there wasn't some grand epiphany when I left. It was just a quiet sense of, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot allow this person to demean me and to diminish me this way anymore. And I left. And obviously I think the thrills and the high of a new job, because I just started at ETV at that time, had also given me confidence that was taken away from me, that was whittled away, chiseled away by my abuser. So I had this newfound confidence, and I left. And in leaving, I found, and this is the profound thing that women need to understand, is that we have the power. We give power to these men. We say we don't have a choice. Choice is an illusion. Yes, choice is an illusion. But the moment you take yourself a step back out, the moment you allow yourself to breathe a little bit and to think a little bit outside of the dynamics and the claustrophobic situation of being in that relationship, you understand this one fundamental and very powerful fact. You are giving power to your abuser. You are giving power to the fear that they instill in you. For as long as you believe it, for as long as you buy into what they say, the words that they drill into your head, the fear that they instill in you, you are giving them power. Take it back. Take it back, because you're quite capable of doing that. And the moment you speak out, the moment you take your power back, here's the beautiful thing. You will find you know, you will find support from people you would least have expected.
I'm sure.
I found that. It has been a profoundly beautiful revelation, and it is powerful, you know, and it is there. It is there. People are waiting for you. People are waiting for you to own your story. Speak up, speak your truth.
So obviously it's, you know, when the thought of writing out your life story in a book, I'm sure it was daunting for you. I mean, how is it going to be received, especially in our community? But from what I hear you say, you've received amazing support, which obviously says a lot. You could be thinking and be apprehensive and afraid because you're not sure how well it would be received. But people out there are definitely very supportive of your story.
I was very anxious in the days leading up to the book going to print, simply because, you know, we have this thing in our community, what are people going to say? Yes. What are people going to think? But I had to accept that this story, my story, was bigger than me. It was bigger than my abuser. It was bigger than anything. This involves thousands of women who are being abused. Some of them never make it out alive. You know, the Karabo Makwenas, the Fatima Patels of this world. You know, they will never get to speak their truth. We will never know their heartache and their sorrow. I have a responsibility. I got out alive. I have a responsibility to every single woman of every race and of every religion to speak my truth in the hope of saving at least one other. And so we pay it forward.
So Vanessa, being such a powerful woman in the society, what message could you give to women watching, or every woman out there? What message can you put forward?
I think women need to understand the power that they have. You know, we are easily forced into believing we are worth nothing more than being a housewife, being a mother, being a caregiver, but we are infinitely more than that. We are raising a nation, we are raising leaders, we are sending out these successful people into the world. We are also sending out these men that we grow to fear. We are raising these boys into the men we grow to fear. Understand your power as a woman. Understand your power as a woman. Never ever relinquish it. People will try to steal. People will try to diminish you. But you've really got to take a step back. Look at yourself in the mirror, because that's what it took for me. Literally looking into the mirror and having a heart-to-heart chat. The things you would say to your best friend if she comes to you with her story of, you know, abuse, or of sadness, of grief, of sorrow, the kind things that you would say to her.
You need to say to yourself.
You need to say to yourself first.
Absolutely, yeah.
That kindness you owe to yourself first. You are your own best friend. And I will say it over and over and over again, because I have discovered my power. And I know it is there with every other woman.
Well, nicely said. You are definitely your own best friend. And how many of us tend to put ourselves down, or we don't feel that we're good enough? So it's all a mind of matter, and definitely a very powerful message. Well done to you, Vanessa. Thank you so much for those words. So empowering. And it allows other women that are in these relationships to be able to speak. And you've just proven to us that don't be afraid that you're not actually going to get that support. There are people there that care and understand, and are probably in very similar relationships.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that was indeed a powerful message from a very powerful woman, our own Vanessa Govender. What a beautiful message. Be your own best friend. And that's something I would never forget, because we often tend to put ourselves down. But if you could just give off what you'd say to a sibling or a best friend, look into the mirror and say that to yourself. So again, just remember your own best friend, coming from our dynamic Vanessa Govender that's just shared a little about her story, unbeaten but not broken.